Everyone, thanks for joining. Very excited to have Glide Express with us today on how Glide Express Car Wash drives faster processing times. And I have Sean Peterson, the EVP of Operations, with me. We're going to talk about how Glide is using Spot AI and how Glide is a leading car wash, fast-growing car wash across the country, and talk about a little bit of that secret sauce today. So what's on deck? We'll talk to the speakers, give you a brief overview of who Spot AI is for those of you who don't know who we are. We're going to talk about something is on every car wash owner and operator's mind on how to drive faster processing times and also how to improve team productivity. We'll leave plenty of time for Q&A at the end as well. So I'm Matt Klingbeil, I'm product marketer at Spot AI. And with me, like I said, is Sean Peterson, EVP of Operations at Glide Express. Sean, would you tell everyone a little about yourself?
Sure. I started my career in the car wash industry after graduating from college. I oversaw the acquisition of what is now one of the largest car wash chains in the country. I did that for a few years, and then I spent about 9 years outside of the industry, building various businesses from glass repair software to subscription-based accounting firms. So kind of have a wide variety of things that I've been involved in. But a couple of years ago, I was persuaded to get back in the industry under the Glide brand, and I'm really glad I did, especially at this time where there's so much opportunity. So that's a little bit about me.
Hey, and Sean, I've gotten to know you a little bit through the car wash show and different conversations we've had over the last few months. And I tell everyone I work with and I talk to that talking to car wash owners and operators is probably one of the most fun things on a daily basis because of there's so many overlapping between what we do in tech and how you guys are thinking about the industry. Really pushing the envelope as far as we can and as fast as we can also, which I think is a lot of fun.
Yeah, we've had lots of conversations about can we do this and can we do that, and so far the answer has been we think so, and so that's been really great.
Yeah,
So yeah.
that's what we always start with is we think so. Okay, let's make it happen.
Yeah.
So just want to give a quick overview of like who we are and who Spot is before we go more into the Glide Express story, which is again, I think a very interesting story. So we've seen this shift happen over the last few years where traditional security systems just haven't been what businesses need anymore. It, Traditionally, owners, operators, IT teams have looked at cameras only when an incident occurs. And what we've seen as a company and throughout the many verticals we work with, and specifically in car washes, is that there's a desire and a hunger to use video for more, not just to know if there's been an accident or if there's been an employee incident, but to really figure out how do we improve our operations, how do we drive faster processing times and throughput, how do we make sure my team, how do we make sure that they're outside helping our employees? I know Sean, you laughed because we've had these conversations, and how do we make sure that you can not have this outdated system anymore. So what we do at Spot is we make sure that you're getting the really powerful software, really powerful hardware. You're getting to keep your own cameras if you want to, or you'll get ours at no cost, which is a big cost savings in general. And we'll make sure that your cameras are always up and running in the right ways. And beyond that, we're going to infuse AI into the conversation now. So you can actually use your cameras to truly get more cars washed, get your pay station tunnels done faster, make sure your team is outside, getting your customers excited and be repeat customers over time and time again. So the idea here with video intelligence with Spot AI is to deliver actionable insights that are used daily, not just once in a blue moon, but really diving into this data every day. And we work with some of the fastest growing and leading car washes in the country, like Glide Express and a bunch of other ones here as well. So Sean, before we go any further, I know you gave a little bit about yourself, but can you tell us a little about Glide?
Yeah, so we currently have three, or actually four now, operating locations, three in the Memphis, Tennessee market, and we just opened our fourth location in Little Rock, Arkansas. And so we're aggressively pursuing the Memphis, Little Rock, and also Northwest Arkansas, which is kind of the Bentonville, Fayetteville, Rogers markets. We have over 20 locations under contract currently. And we're building multiple locations also in Springfield, Missouri. So we've been busy over the last couple years. We had three locations in Texas that did very, very well, and we sold those to one of the larger chains in the country to help us with this, kind of aggressive growth strategy in these markets. And we were successful then, and we feel like we're successful now. We're just kind of repeating the process of what we're doing. So, our mission is to be the leader in wash quality and while providing the fastest, friendliest service in the industry. And I think a lot of car washes have, I think, a similar mission. Be the fastest, cleanest car wash in the industry, or some version of that, right? Um, but I think with some of the technology partners that we've partnered with recently, I think that's more than hyperbole. I think we can really leverage our technology partners to become that. And I think the success that we had originally, kind of proves that from a location selection standpoint and from a market selection standpoint, due to our team, our partners have over 100 years in construction, car washing, and real estate development. And so, we're really excited about the industry as a whole, as well as the opportunities that we have currently with Glide Express.
I mean, that growth is really something. Expanding those markets and kind of moving in that direction. And that's what's always so exciting for us when we talk with you, is to see how we can help out with that and how we can play a little part in that expansion with you.
Yeah, we're excited about it too.
And I know one of the things we've talked a lot about is bottlenecks. And I know that's something at the top of everyone's mind, and why most people would want to understand, like, really what is Glide doing for that. So historically, what has it been like for you at Glide Express, or in previous, previous washes you worked at, and figuring out these bottlenecks at pay stations? Like, what has that experience been like traditionally?
Yeah, so for us, there's generally two bottlenecks. Once the car wash is built, obviously we try to, as far as car flow and things like that, we try to figure that out way before the wash is built. And I think we've done a good job of that. But once the car wash is built, you have the pay stations, and typically we have 2 or 3 pay stations. And then you have the actual loading the car onto the belt or the conveyor itself. And so those are kind of our bottleneck points that we've in the past we've tried to emphasize through, like, literally timing them, either through our old security camera system or through like a stopwatch. And we created, we did take it seriously. I mean, we tried to do the best we could. I since the beginning days of when I was in the industry, I would look at, fast food restaurants and like the McDonald's and the Wendy's and even the In-N-Outs of the world. That's a key performance indicator that they really hone in on, right? Is drive-through throughput, and how long it takes from one car to get from one point to this point. And there's been millions and millions of dollars invested in that industry, if not billions of dollars invested in that industry, to try to increase or make that more efficient. And I've looked at that, and my dream was to be able to kind of do what they did, because I've seen in those industries where they're they actually have like a timer in the back room, right, where the workers are working, and it starts to flash at them, if a certain customer is taking too long. And so that it's just an emphasis in the fast food industry, and it is, I think, an emphasis in the car wash industry, but there really hasn't been a great way of measuring it, with consistency. And so up until now, I think with Spot AI's technology, we've been able to leverage that technology and work with Spot AI and continue to work with Spot AI to get some of those throughput numbers, at least the measurement of them, consistent, because we use that as, like I mentioned, key performance indicators as a way to incentivize our team members and our managers. Like, that is part of their bonus structure, is how fast are we processing each car, or are they within the, the our acceptable, what we deem is our acceptable standard, how long it takes to process a car. So, our team is motivated to to make sure that they are processing our customers fast and quickly. Um, and so those are the two, I think, bottlenecks that we've identified, and both have a different standard. And I can talk about that a little bit if
Yeah.
you'd like.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think that's and just
yeah,
one thing I've noticed that from a lot of our car wash customers, and including I think conversation with you, is that it's like trying to put a circle in a square, or square in a round peg, where not many things are actually built for the car wash industry, and you guys are using cameras at such a high velocity, trying to figure out can you use fast food technology in a car wash. Just doesn't work sometimes. Like there's just not that
yeah.
nice match here. So something like idle time, like you mentioned, it's built for you guys. It's built to make car washes have faster throughput and to do things a little faster.
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, so like we've talked about before, the kiosk is one thing, and then
Yep.
actual loading them on the conveyor is another thing. We currently don't use like self-load or anything like that. So we have one of our team members who is loading the customer onto the belt or onto the conveyor. And there, it's a little bit of it's a little bit of a science as far as making that work and processing what our standard is every 30 seconds a car at the belt of the conveyor, which equals to be about 120 cars an hour, is what we feel like is a fast experience that still allows our customers to have enough spacing and feel comfortable in the wash. And so, but there's a lot of factors. There's a lot of variables that could take place that would make it so that a customer is outside that kind of 30-second threshold. Half of that really has to do with the customer, and half of it has to do with us. And
Right.
so, if we can point out, through Spot AI's technology, training opportunities where we normally wouldn't be able to before. We were just kind of taking an average with a stopwatch, and based on our store leaders, number one, our store leaders' accuracy, but also our store leaders' honesty, how well we were processing on a consistent basis. That's kind of where we were stuck before. From a kiosk standpoint, uh, we do have kiosks, but as you know, even I get confused sometimes at kiosks, and so we want to have our customers being attended to quickly. For sure, when we open up a location, we have a person at the kiosk all the time. And when a store is a little bit more established, maybe we don't have them there all the time, but we do want to monitor how fast it takes our team members to get to the customer once they're at the kiosk, right? And
Yeah.
if the customer is waiting there for uh, more than 30 seconds without being helped, then that's a problem, right? And we can automatically hone in and see uh, which particular instances are above our standard and why. Now it could be a customer issue,
Mhm.
and there's some things we can do about that, but most of the time, uh, it's our own issue. We can, from a training perspective, we can improve the customer experience through, you know, uh, through honing in on where we're below our internal standard.
Yeah, and I
So
love how you're talking about the customer experience. And I think it's really, when you talk about the growth that you guys are having, like the customer experience has never been more important, because it's those repeat customers who love that experience, who make it their daily, weekly ritual, depending on, if they're subscribers or not. So kind of here, would love to talk about, how do you ensure that customers always have a great experience when they come to Glide Express?
yeah, so that's a great question. I think that's everybody's uh, you know goal, is to make sure that our customers have a consistent experience every time they come. And again, there's a lot of variables to that, whether or not that happens. I mean, I go back to the kind of the fast food industry that you know uh, the McDonald's brothers created a system where they could create a consistent experience for the customer every time. And and that starts with obviously the the chemistry and also the equipment package and layout, and we won't get into a lot of that right now, but we have a motto at Glide, and our motto is we're only as good as our last wash, right? So if a customer has a good experience, even if they're an unlimited member, they have a good experience one time, they're like awesome. Or if they have a good experience for 5 or 6 times, and then they have one bad experience, it depends on the experience, but it leaves doubt in their mind. And then if they have another experience, they're likely to not stay on the membership. And so so a lot of these technologies have allowed us to kind of hone in on what are the things that we think would create a bad customer service that's within our team members' control. Not talking about the chemistry and the equipment, because that's kind of a completely different topic, but what can we do from an outside perspective that the customer sees to improve their experience? I think it's greeting them with a smile, right? It's greeting them on time, so that they're not waiting for somebody to help them. Having enough people on site, so that if a customer has a question, that they don't have to walk around, the entire car wash to find somebody. And so, things like that we feel are important, that I think separates us from maybe other car washes that are trying to um, do more with less, which is a great thing to do with technology, but at the same time, I think customer service is customer service, and
Yeah.
customer service involves people, and so that's, I think, what we're trying to do,
Yeah.
and Spot AI is really helping us with that.
I think back to all the years I used to work in retail, and even when I've gone to visit a bunch of our car wash customers over the last 6 months or so, and seeing that the there's still excitement on a customer's face when they show up and they get to know the person at that pay station because they go
Mm-hmm.
there every week or they go there a couple times a month. And there's this very interesting human connection that takes place at a car wash. I don't think many people actually think occurs at a car wash. Like most people, I
Right.
think it's a very transactional thing. It's actually a very personal experience, which is why that customer experience is just so important. And the people element you talk about, I love the way you talk about your people. Like, we can talk about the machinery, we can talk about the chemicals and the chemistry and everything else, but it comes down to the people that are part of the Glide Express family, essentially, and making sure the customers have
Yeah.
a great time.
Yeah, and again, we do our best to hire the right people. I mean, we're not perfect at that, but we do our best to do that, and we have technology in place to help us with that as well. And so, but ultimately, I mean, the tools, and we'll talk about this here in a second about how
Yeah.
we've kind of implemented some of Spot AI's technology outside of even just monitoring processing time, but also monitoring, because we, in the hiring process, we do say explicitly that this is an outside job, right?
Right.
This is not an air conditioned job. We'll provide you with water, we'll provide you with popsicles, we'll provide you with ice cream,
Sure.
uh, or whatever it is to hopefully keep us cool. And obviously, we don't expect our employees to constantly be out in the in the heat
Sure.
or in the cold, right?
Right.
Um, but I think that just with that understanding that this is an outside job,
Mhm.
um, sets the standard, I think, or sets the tone that hey, we expect you to be outside with the customer, helping them,
Yeah.
the best we can.
Yeah. So using, thinking about, I know some of the tools we have, like people presence that you all use. So how do you leverage that technology to make sure your team is in that right place at the right time?
Yeah, great question. Um, so we were really excited about people presence. And when we found out, like, in addition to idle time, we were really excited about it, because we thought it would be a great way for us to monitor and see, because nothing, I guess, as a and my regional manager would say the same thing, and my director of operations, nothing, I think, annoys us more than seeing, when we pull up to the car wash and seeing our employees just camping. We call it office camping in the office. Now,
Yeah.
there are definitely some things to do in the office. We provide our customers with with microfiber towels, and that whole process requires our employees to collect those towels, to wash them, and to fold them, right? And so they take advantage, as they should, of folding the towels inside the office, which is completely fine, and we're great with that. But outside of that, if we're shooting the breeze in the office, then you know, uh, again, this is an outside job, and we want our customers to be greeted within a certain time frame. And so we kind of use both people presence, so we can tell, right, what percentage of the time our team members are in the office. We can tell what percentage of the time our store leaders or our managers are in the office, because that's another thing. Like, if our managers aren't training, if they're not out there with their employees, if they're not out there with the customer getting feedback from the customer, then a lot of the times, we're just going through the motions and we're not getting better. And if we can get feedback from the customer, feedback from the employees, training, that's usually not done in the office. We have certain hours that our managers can be in the office and should be in the office to set schedules or to do other paperwork, and things like that. But for the most part, 90% of their job should be outside, or outside of the office. And so we know, like, right away what percent of the time our team members and our managers are in their offices. And so it sounds a little big brothery. It does, and we're not using it as a way. It's not a gotcha for us. It's more of a way to train. A good example of this is one of our store leaders was asking for more hours, right? Was saying, hey, if you give me 8 more hours a week or so, I think I can deliver on this much, on this type of performance. And without this technology, we'd be like, okay, let's try it out for a month or so. You make a good argument. Let's give it a shot. But lo and behold, we went into people presence. They're like, wait, I think you could probably do what you're saying without the additional hours, because X% of the time the team members are in the office not folding towels, and we have a little bit more ammunition to say, we probably can be a little bit more efficient than we are right now. And when you have achieved that level of efficiency, by all means, I think, again, if you feel like it will improve the customer experience to add some additional hours, then we can have that conversation. But the conversation didn't last very long when we knew that they may not be as efficient as they were from a people presence standpoint.
Yeah, and that's why we built people presence, right? To boost operations and productivity of the team. Essentially, the way you said, it's always fun to hear it out in the wild, how that's happening in the wild. So Sean, we have a couple of questions, but I want to kind of dive into give a little sneak peek to folks of what's coming this quarter with Spot. And I think these are things we've talked about. I think you're pretty excited about. I know a lot of our car wash customers are pretty excited about. So one thing we're releasing is something called heat maps. And I remember when I showed your team, when our team showed yours team, Sean, that there was some really interesting use cases that we saw come out of this. So one of the biggest things we heard from a lot of our car wash customers is that, idle time field presence is great, but I always have a problem with backups at my vacuum bays. And sometimes do I need more of them? Do I need less of them? Or I'm looking to expand to 20 more locations and I'm trying to budget out how many vacuum bays I actually need those new locations. So what heat maps will essentially do is you'll be able to see which bays are the busiest or the slowest, what times of day those are the busiest or the slowest. And you'll be able to understand exactly what you need and where you need it, whether it's team members to help customers move along faster, whether it's literally more vacuum bays. And this isn't just for vacuum bays, but I think it's a really good, pertinent example for the car wash industry.
Yeah, I agree. When you showed me this, I was pretty excited about it. Vacuums is one of those things that is a little bit of a, in the industry, there's really no consensus. I think overall the industry is going bigger and better, but I would say there's really no consensus about how many vacuums you need. And so I think now we and we just kind of started this, so we're just getting this information
Hmm.
um, about how much time our customers are spending in the vacuums, um, and what percentage of the time our wash customers actually use the vacuums.
Yeah.
And so, we're hoping to understand a little bit more, not only the needs of our customer, because we could have, we might be in a situation where we're looking at a property and we're like, well, we need this many vacuums, and because this is, the percentage of
Hmm.
times that customers use the vacuums, and we may decide to pass on a property because it may not be big enough for us to have the right amount of vacuums. Or we may, the reverse of that is we might say, hey, we could do this. This may be a little piece of this is a little smaller piece of property, and we think we can do it because we know what percent of the time and how long our customers are using the vacuum. So we're excited about this, but also the heat map is interesting because I think what you said is, knowing also the what vacuums are being used the most. So those are the vacuums that are probably going to need the most attention, not only from cleaning standpoint, but also those are probably where we're gonna want to put our vending. That's also probably
Oh
going to
yeah.
want to make sure that our towels, like that we never run out of towels
Right.
from those 5 vacuums that are being used the most. So there's a lot of use cases for it that we're really excited about and that we're exploring
Oh yeah.
now.
Absolutely. And then the other feature is license plate recognition, which is probably one of the most asked about features that from a lot, especially of our car wash customers. And this is again, this goes to boost customer experience. So if your monthly members come in, they can more quickly get through. This will be if there's ever an incident, you can quickly resolve those incidents even faster with other features we have like cases and things like that. So we're just wanted to give a little sneak peek to everybody about things that are coming over the next quarter or so. We're super excited to keep growing this feature set and these solutions with the car wash industry. And something I think Sean said at the very beginning was that when you have an idea, we take those very seriously, and we truly look at every one of our customers as partners in this. So um, the people presence and heat maps, when we show them to customers or they have other ideas on how to do things, we say we think we could do that because we think we can do that and we will do that for our customers, which is a really exciting place to be in industry with an industry like the car wash industry for sure. So a couple of questions came in, and then we can move on with the day, Sean. So I appreciate you being with us. But a couple questions
Right.
that came in is number one is what has been the value as I kind of look at different solutions? What do you see the value of your partnership with Spot AI being?
Yeah, when I was first approached, or actually when I first, saw Spot AI, and I reached out and I got, the sales call. I you know, and we didn't talk much about the claims situation and how that has helped us, and it has. However, I would say that that's the cherry on top to the sundae of for me the people presence and the idle time. And so I kind of said that from the get go. I said, hey, this is great. This will help us, and I think from a monetary standpoint and from a return on investment standpoint, I think we can probably save time. Um, but this thing here, I'm really excited about, and I was pretty explicit about that. And and my sales guy, who's great, really helped me to and gave me good timelines of when we could expect this all to come out, and I've been very happy with that. Because I'm looking at something from a return on investment standpoint, and
Sure.
as we've engaged Spot AI, I've said, okay, are we getting our money's worth out of it? And the answer is, unequivocally yes, especially with some of the things that we're talking about with the vacuums and making decisions there, but also just the time that it takes, the time that we're saving from the stopwatch days, the arbitrary stopwatch days, and also the efficiency that we're gaining from knowing where our employees are when they're there. If you quantify that, and I haven't done it yet, but there's no question in my mind that we're exceeding the value of what we're paying. And that's going to be beyond, that's just where we are today. I mean, I think from what I understand, at least my relationship with Spot AI, it's been very collaborative, and I've been, we've given some ideas, and those ideas have been heard, and we're still working on some things, still tweaking some things
Mhm.
to make it better together. And I understand, software, sometimes you design it for one thing, and then your customer says, "Oh, it'd be great if it did this thing for
Yep.
me." And I think Spot AI has going to done a good job of collaborating with us to not get down the rabbit hole of like, I want this specific thing that only works for me. But if I can convince you guys that there's a business case for it, then you're like on it,
Of course.
and, and so far so good, right?
Yeah.
With that. And I think, so I'm really excited about the time savings that we're at. I mean, again, the damage claim thing is with people presence, or with the new technology for the license plate recognition, we can look up a license plate and boom, and see it right there. We can share that case with our team. We can collaborate on that case and make a decision like in 5 minutes whether or not we're going to maybe deny the claim or maybe we're going to pay it. We can also share it with a customer if they have a dispute about it and we're like, hey, here's this thing, there's a scratch right before you came into the tunnel, here it is, and we can circle it and do all, it just saves us a lot of time. And
Yeah.
where, like I mentioned before, it's an outside job. Manager's job is to train and make sure that, we're having, a good customer experience, and they're not going to do that if they're searching through video for hours on end. They're not going to have that opportunity to be out there and train their people. And so I think it's just allowed us to really free up a lot of our time. So
Yeah. We hear that a lot from a lot of our customers. The time savings is huge. So instead of
yeah.
babysitting almost, or sifting through hours of footage, we can really dive into the nitty gritty of operations and really figure the business out.
Yeah, I mean, a good example of this is like we can tell, okay, if somebody is outside of our processing threshold, we can see the exact videos. We can look at every single one. Oh, say we had 15 cars out of our processing threshold that day. We can click on it and we can see every 15
Yeah.
incidences where we were outside of our threshold, and we can look and see if there's, maybe it was a customer issue, but maybe it was our issue, and can we do better from a training standpoint there. So it really saves the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. So another question is, and this is probably one of my favorite questions I'd love asking all of our car wash customers is, where do you see the industry going over the next few years?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier. I think
Hmm.
the car wash industry, I think, is heading to what I call the kind of the European model, which is bigger. Um, I think with so many car washes popping up, and I think it's overdue that the era that we're in right now is happening. Um, I think I think people are trying to differentiate themselves in other ways, and I think that you know you know kind of destination type washes, I think, is the future. Um, uh, you know, and I think technology like a Spot AI will only make that experience better for the customer. Um, and so, you know, uh, that's where I think the industry is heading in the next 5 to 10 years. I think you're already seeing it in some people are doing it. Some of the bigger players are doing it already. And shoot, if we can leverage technology to accomplish, that goal, then we're going to do it. So
Yeah. No, it's exciting to see the growth throughout the industry and kind of when I talk to anyone at a trade show or on a sales call or anywhere else, kind of see the forward thinking. It's
Hmm.
always that's the fun part and the parallels I always see between what we're doing at Spot and what the car wash industry is doing. That's what makes it so fun, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fun business. It's you kind of deal with all facets. You deal with like mechanical, you deal with chemistry, you deal with technology, you deal with and it's a retail business, and so it's a pretty
Yeah.
fast moving and fun technology, fun industry.
Yeah. Well, Sean, thank you so much. If anyone has any other questions, they can drop them in the chat. Our team will be happy to answer those. Our contact information is up on the screen if you want to reach out to our sales team. But Sean, thank you so much for being a part of this today.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for inviting me, and I look forward to continuing working with Spot to make our customer experience even better.
Great. Have a good one.
All right.